Hello everyone, thank you for being here today. Let me ask you a simple but very real question. Have you ever woken up in the morning, swallowed, and felt as if something sticky was lodged in your throat? You cough once, twice, maybe more times, but nothing really comes out. You sip some water, perhaps a cup of coffee, but the discomfort lingers all day. If this sounds familiar, type 1 in the comments. If you've never experienced it, type 2. And don't forget, follow me, because I'll be guiding you not only on how to solve this problem, but also on how to build stronger health and a better version of yourself in the long run. Now, let me be clear, this sensation of phlegm in the throat is not rare. In fact, it's one of the most common complaints I hear from patients in both the United States and Canada. Many people immediately think, oh, this must be my lungs. Maybe I have allergies, maybe I'm catching a cold. And while the lungs do play a role, traditional Chinese medicine gives us a deeper perspective. The lungs are the warehouse, but they are not the factory. The real factory, the place where phlegm is actually produced, is your spleen. I know for many of you, the spleen is not an organ you think about every day. In Western medicine, it's often reduced to functions related to immunity and blood cells. But in Chinese medicine, the spleen is central to how your body processes food, fluids, and nutrients. If the spleen is weak, it cannot properly transform and transport fluids. Those fluids stagnate. And when fluid stagnates, it turns into phlegm. So when you're constantly clearing your throat in meetings, when you feel embarrassed, coughing during a quiet lecture hall, or when you just can't shake the sticky sensation in your airway, your body may actually be telling you, my spleen is struggling. Please take care of me. Let's dive into this foundation more carefully. In Western medicine, chronic phlegm is usually linked to respiratory conditions, asthma, bronchitis, postnasal drip, or allergies. Doctors may prescribe antihistamines, inhalers, or antibiotics. But have you noticed, even after finishing the prescription, many people still complain, doctor, the phlegm keeps coming back. Traditional Chinese medicine provides a complementary explanation. The spleen, together with the stomach, acts like your body's filter and processing system. Imagine a water filtration unit in your home. If the filter is clogged, water doesn't flow properly, residue builds up, and soon the pipes are coated with slime. Your spleen works in a similar way. When it is strong, it digests food efficiently, transforms fluids, and delivers clean energy to the body. But when it is weak because of poor diet, stress, lack of exercise, or irregular lifestyle, the filter gets overloaded. Fluids aren't moved, they stagnate, and stagnation turns into dampness. Dampness, in turn, condenses into phlegm. Here's the key point. The spleen is the root, the lungs are the branch. If you only treat the lungs, you're cleaning the warehouse but ignoring the factory. That is why phlegm keeps coming back. So let me ask you, have you noticed that after eating ice cream, drinking cold soda, or indulging in fried foods, your throat feels more congested the next morning? If you have, type yes in the comments. If you haven't noticed, type no. This interaction is important because awareness is the first step in connecting what you eat and how your body responds. Now that we understand the spleen is the real factory of phlegm, let's take a closer look at why the spleen becomes weak in the first place. Because if you don't know the root causes, you can drink all the teas and take all the medicines, but the problem will just keep coming back. In traditional Chinese medicine, the spleen is damaged by 3 major factors: dietary habits, emotional state, and lifestyle environment. Let's unpack each one carefully. 1. Diet. The daily culprit. The first and most obvious cause is diet. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you eat fried foods, sugary desserts, or drink iced beverages? In North America, it's common to grab a burger and soda at lunch, or to reward yourself with ice cream at night. But these are exactly the foods that burden the spleen. Cold drinks freeze its digestive fire, while greasy, heavy foods clog its ability to transform fluids. Over time, what should be absorbed as clean energy stagnates, turning into dampness and eventually condensing into phlegm. Think about this. Have you ever had a big fast food meal and then noticed your throat felt thicker, your voice heavier, or even a need to clear your throat the next morning? That's not coincidence, that's your spleen struggling. Comment yes if you've experienced this, or no if you've never noticed. This reflection matters because connecting symptoms to your habits is the first step toward change. 2. Emotions, the hidden factor. The second root cause is emotional. In Chinese medicine, each organ system is tied to an emotion. The liver is tied to anger, the lungs to grief, and the spleen to overthinking or worry. Modern life in the US and Canada is filled with constant stress, work deadlines, financial pressure, school exams, and even the endless cycle of social media comparisons. When you worry excessively, when your mind never stops spinning, you are literally exhausting your spleen. Western science echoes this. Chronic stress raises cortisol, which not only disrupts digestion, but also lowers immune function. That's why stressed individuals often experience indigestion fatigue and, yes, more phlegm. This is not in your head, it's your body speaking loudly through physical symptoms. So let me ask, how many of you notice that during stressful times, exams, job interviews, or family conflicts, you suddenly develop a sore throat, sinus congestion, or more mucus? Type 1 if this happens to you, type 2 if you've never noticed. You'll see how many people share this same hidden connection. 3, lifestyle and environment, the modern trap. The third factor is lifestyle and environment. In today's society, we sit far more than we move. Hours at the computer, long commutes in cars, evenings spent streaming shows, all of this reduces circulation. Without movement, fluids stagnate, and again, stagnation produces dampness and phlegm. On top of that, modern environments create extremes. Air conditioning that chills the body in summer and overheated indoor spaces that dry the throat in winter. Both extremes disrupt the spleen's delicate balance. And let's not forget pollution city air, filled with fine particles that irritate the respiratory tract, making the body produce more mucus as a defense. A 2021 study in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine showed that people living in urban areas with high air pollution reported significantly more chronic phlegm and cough compared to those in rural areas. In Chinese medicine, this would be described as external damp and phlegm pathogens combining with internal weakness of the spleen, bringing it together. So, when you feel that sticky phlegm, remember, it's rarely about just one thing. It's the hamburger you ate, the stress you carried, the hours you sat without moving, and the cold air from the AC all coming together to weaken your spleen. And this explains why some people clear their throat every morning for years, never finding relief. Because they only treat the surface with cough syrups or lozenges without addressing the underlying habits. In summary, the spleen becomes weak from poor diet, chronic worry, and sedentary modern living. Each factor alone is harmful, but together they create the perfect storm for phlegm production. Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll discuss the typical symptoms that reveal your spleen is under stress, symptoms you might be overlooking right now. Now that we've uncovered the root causes, diet, emotions, and lifestyle, let's move on to the next crucial question. How do you know if your spleen is already weakened and producing excess phlegm? Recognizing the symptoms early is the key to preventing chronic problems later. 1. Throat and respiratory symptoms. The most obvious sign is, of course, persistent phlegm in the throat. You wake up in the morning and immediately feel the need to clear your throat. Some people even describe it as a frog in my throat that never leaves. Others feel a sticky sensation that makes swallowing uncomfortable. Sometimes the phlegm doesn't come out easily, it feels lodged in the chest or back of the throat. In Western clinics, this is often diagnosed as postnasal drip, chronic rhinitis, or mild reflux. But from a Chinese medicine perspective, this is classic spleen deficiency generating dampness that turns into phlegm. Let me ask, how many of you have water by your bedside because you wake up coughing or with a dry, phlegmy throat? Type yes if this is your habit type, no if not. You'll see how common this is across our community. 2. Digestive discomfort. Because the spleen is part of the digestive system, symptoms don't stop at the throat. Many patients with spleen deficiency complain of bloating, poor appetite, or a heavy sensation after meals. You may feel full even if you haven't eaten much or crave sweets and cold drinks, even though they make you feel worse. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Gastroenterology noted that patients with chronic mucus issues often also report indigestion and bloating. This dual pattern is no accident. It's the spleen struggling both to manage digestion and to prevent fluid stagnation. 3. Energy and fatigue. Another hallmark symptom is low energy. When the spleen fails to transform food into clear energy, you feel sluggish, foggy, and unmotivated. Have you ever had days when no matter how much coffee you drink, you still feel tired, heavy, and unable to focus? That's spleen qi deficiency showing up in daily life. Comment below, how many cups of coffee do you usually drink per day? Type 1 if just 1, 2 if 2, 3, plus if you need several, just to keep going. You might be masking spleen weakness with caffeine. 4. Cognitive and mood changes. Because the spleen is linked to thought and concentration, another sign is difficulty focusing or overthinking. People often say, my body feels heavy and so does my mind. If you notice constant worrying, trouble concentrating, or feeling mentally stuck, this is part of the picture. Western science, again, supports this connection. Chronic inflammation and digestive dysfunction are associated with higher rates of anxiety and brain fog. In other words, your spleen health is directly tied to your mood and mental clarity. 5. Physical appearance clues. Chinese medicine also pays attention to outward signs. A swollen tongue with teeth marks on the sides is considered a classic indicator of spleen deficiency. The tongue may also have a thick white coating, evidence of dampness. Physically, you may notice puffiness in the face, water retention in the legs, or a tendency to gain weight easily, even without overeating. These visual cues often appear long before serious disease develops, making them valuable for prevention. Bringing it all together. So, to summarize, the common symptoms of spleen weakness-producing phlegm include *, constant throat clearing and sticky mucus. *, digestive issues like bloating and poor appetite. *, fatigue that coffee cannot fix. *, mental fog, overthinking, or anxiety. *, physical signs such as a swollen tongue or puffiness. If you checked off 2 or 3 of these in your mind as I was speaking, your spleen is likely asking for help. And here's the important part. These are not random, isolated complaints. They are part of a pattern, a story your body is telling you. Once you recognize the story, you can begin to intervene, not only to clear phlegm, but also to strengthen the very foundation of your health. In the next section, we'll talk about specific solutions, simple but powerful remedies and lifestyle adjustments that can transform this pattern and bring lasting relief. We've identified the problem and the symptoms. Now, the real question is, what can you actually do about it? The good news is that you don't need complicated prescriptions or expensive treatment. Nature has already provided us with simple, accessible remedies that work on both the root and the branch, strengthening the spleen while reducing phlegm. 1. The power of ginger. Let's start with something many of you already have in your kitchens: fresh ginger. In traditional Chinese medicine, ginger is described as warming the middle burner, which means it strengthens digestion, helps the spleen process food more effectively, and dissolves dampness. In modern terms, ginger stimulates circulation, improves gastric motility, and reduces inflammation. Think about how ginger tea feels when you drink it on a cold day. It warms your stomach, clears your throat, and often reduces coughing. That's not just comfort, it's medicine working. So here's a quick check-in. How many of you already use ginger in cooking or tea? Type yes if you do, no if you don't. This will give us a sense of how common this practice is in our community. 2. Supporting herbs. But ginger works best when combined with other partners. Here's a formula that is simple, safe, and especially suited for people living in North America who struggle with persistent phlegm. *. Chen Pai dried tangerine peel helps regulate qi, dries dampness, and clears phlegm. Think of it as opening the pipes so fluids move freely. * Yi ren coix seed, also called Job's tears or pearl. Barley gently drains dampness, strengthens the spleen, and is widely available in Asian grocery stores. It's mild, almost like food therapy, and perfectly suited for daily use. * Licorice root. Gansao harmonizes the formula, soothes the throat, and adds a natural sweetness. Plus, licorice is easy to find in Western herbal shops, making this formula practical in the US and Canada. Together with ginger, these 3 herbs form a powerful team. Ginger warms and activates, Chen Pai moves and clears, Yi Ren drains dampness, and licorice balances and soothes. The result? Less phlegm, stronger digestion, and a calmer throat. 3. How to prepare. Preparation is simple. Take * 3-4 slices of fresh ginger with skin washed, * 5-10 grams of dried tangerine peel, * 15-20 grams of coix seed, * a small piece, about 3-5 grams of licorice root. Rinse them quickly, add to about 1 liter of water, bring to a boil, then simmer on low heat for 20-30 minutes. Strain and drink warm. You can divide it into 2 or 3 servings throughout the day. The taste is surprisingly pleasant, spicy warmth from the ginger, citrus aroma from Chen Pai, and a light sweetness from licorice. This makes it not only therapeutic, but enjoyable, something you can easily incorporate into your routine. 4. How often and for whom you can drink this tea a few times a week, or even daily if your symptoms are more persistent. It's especially effective for people with white or clear phlegm, a heavy feeling in the body, and fatigue, all classic signs of spleen deficiency with dampness. However, if your phlegm is yellow, thick, and accompanied by fever or sore throat, that indicates heat phlegm. In that case, you should adjust the formula, perhaps adding cooling herbs like chrysanthemum or mint. Always pay attention to your body's signals and consult a practitioner if unsure. 5. Why consistency matters. Remember, this is food therapy, not a pharmaceutical pill. The effects are gentle but accumulate over time. If you expect instant results after 1 cup, you may be disappointed. But if you commit for 1 or 2 weeks, you'll likely notice less throat clearing, improved digestion, and more energy. Let me ask you, would you be willing to try a simple tea for 2 weeks if it could help reduce phlegm and improve your energy? Comment, "I will" if yes, or "not sure" if you're hesitant. Sharing your intention can motivate others in the community to join you. Bringing it together, this ginger-based tea is not just about clearing phlegm today. It's about rebalancing your entire system so phlegm doesn't keep coming back. It's simple, safe, inexpensive, and rooted in both traditional wisdom and modern practicality. In the next section, we'll go beyond this formula and look at lifestyle and nutritional strategies that reinforce its effects, ensuring that your spleen stays strong and your throat stays clear. We've just learned about the ginger-based tea that directly strengthens the spleen and reduces phlegm. But let's be clear, no single formula, no matter how powerful, can work in isolation. If you drink the tea but continue with poor eating habits, high stress, and little exercise, the benefits will be limited. This is why lifestyle and nutrition are equally important. They provide the foundation that allows remedies to actually work. 1. Nutrition eat to support the spleen. In Chinese medicine, the spleen thrives on foods that are warm, light, and easy to digest. In practical terms, for those living in the US or Canada, this means asterisk. Whole grains like brown rice, oats, and quinoa. These provide steady energy without overwhelming digestion. Asterisk legumes such as lentils and mung beans. These gently clear dampness while nourishing the body. Asterisk cooked vegetables like carrots, squash, and leafy greens. Light steaming or roasting makes them easier on the spleen compared to raw salads. And here's the key, minimize cold, raw, and greasy foods. Yes, I know smoothies and ice cream are popular, but imagine pouring ice water into your digestive fire. It weakens the flame. Over time, the spleen cannot fully process nutrients, leading to more dampness and phlegm. So let me ask, how many of you eat cold salads or ice drinks almost every day? Type 1 if yes, 2 if no. Recognizing this habit can be the first step toward meaningful change. 2. Hydration, warm, not cold. Another simple adjustment is hydration. Drink warm or room temperature water instead of iced. This single change often reduces throat congestion and bloating. In fact, many of my Canadian patients are amazed at how much lighter they feel after just 2 weeks of avoiding ice water. 3. Exercise, move, dampness out. Movement is medicine. A sedentary lifestyle allows fluids to stagnate. Gentle but consistent exercise, walking, cycling, swimming, or practicing Tai Chi or yoga helps move qi and fluids, preventing dampness from accumulating. Even 20 minutes a day makes a difference. Here's a tip, if you feel heavy after a meal, don't collapse onto the couch. Take a light walk instead. This aids both digestion and circulation, reducing phlegm formation. 4. Sleep, restore the spleen. Sleep is when the body repairs itself. Chronic late nights weaken the spleen and kidneys, draining your reserves. Aim for 7-8 hours with a consistent bedtime. If you've ever noticed that your phlegm is worse after staying up too late, that's your body giving you direct feedback. Comment below, are you a night owl who stays up past midnight? Type yes if that's you, no if you usually sleep before 11. 5. Emotional balance, calm the mind. Remember, overthinking and worry damage the spleen. Stress management is not just psychological, it's physical medicine. Practices like deep breathing, mindfulness, prayer, or journaling all calm the nervous system. Modern research shows that mindfulness reduces cortisol, improves digestion, and even decreases mucus production. Try this simple breathing exercise. Inhale deeply through the nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale through the mouth for 6. Repeat for 2 minutes whenever you feel anxious. You'll notice both your chest and your throat feel clearer. 6. Social connection and joy. Lastly, don't underestimate the power of joy. Isolation and chronic stress weaken not only the mind, but also the spleen. Share meals with loved ones, laugh often, and engage in community. Studies in North America consistently show that people with strong social ties live longer and healthier lives. Bringing it together. So here's the full picture, asterisk. Eat warm, simple, digestible foods. Asterisk. Avoid cold and greasy items. Asterisk. Stay hydrated with warm water. Asterisk. Exercise daily, even lightly. Asterisk. Sleep on time. Asterisk. Manage stress and nurture joy. Combine these habits with the ginger-based tea, and you're not just treating phlegm, you're transforming your entire health foundation. In the next section, we'll bring all of this together with real-life examples and case studies of people who applied these strategies and experienced lasting change. We've now covered the theory, the symptoms, and the remedies, but nothing makes these ideas more real than stories from actual people. When we see how others applied these principles in daily life, it becomes easier to imagine how they could work for us too. Let me share a few cases that highlight the power of addressing the spleen to resolve phlegm issues. Case 1. The busy office worker Sarah, a 2-year-old accountant in Toronto, came to me constantly complaining about a lump of mucus in my throat. She drank multiple iced coffees a day to stay awake during tax season and often grabbed fried takeout meals late at night. On examination, she had a swollen tongue with teeth marks and reported bloating after meals. Instead of only prescribing cough syrups, I guided her to make 3 changes. Switch to warm water, prepare the ginger chen pai yi ren licorice tea 3 times a week, and take a short walk after dinner instead of collapsing on the sofa. Within 2 weeks, Sarah reported her throat felt clearer. After 6 weeks, she needed only 1 coffee per day, and her digestion felt lighter. Question for you, how many of you also rely on coffee and late night takeout to push through work? Type me if that sounds familiar. Sarah's story shows how small adjustments create big results. Case 2. The retired teacher David, a 8-year-old retired teacher in Seattle, had been clearing his throat for more than 10 years. Doctors diagnosed him with postnasal drip and reflux, but medications gave only temporary relief. He also had fatigue and mild depression. We introduced the ginger-based tea, but the real breakthrough came from adjusting his diet, switching from daily ice cream to warm oatmeal topped with walnuts and sesame seeds. We also encouraged him to join a Tai Chi class at the local community center. 3 months later, David's wife told me, he laughs more, he's not constantly clearing his throat, and he has the energy to play with the grandkids again. His example reminds us that it's never too late to strengthen the spleen and reclaim health. If you're over 60 and still want more energy and clarity, type yes in the comments. You're not alone, change is possible at any age. Case 3. The university student Emily, a 3-year-old student in New York, experienced brain fog, fatigue, and chronic mucus. She stayed up past 2 a.m., most nights studying, survived on pizza and soda, and often skipped breakfast. She thought her symptoms were normal college life. We started simple, a consistent bedtime before midnight, warm water instead of soda, and 5 minutes of ginger tea in the morning. She also practiced a short breathing exercise to calm anxiety. After just 1 month, Emily said, I can finally concentrate in class and I don't need to constantly clear my throat anymore. By supporting her spleen, her mind also grew clearer. Students watching this, how many of you skip, sleep, or live on junk food during exams? Type guilty if you do. Emily's story is proof that even small shifts make a big difference. Case 4. The single mother Maria, a 5-year-old single mother in Chicago, struggled with stress, worry, and constant throat congestion. Her story highlights the emotional side of spleen weakness. She worried about finances, worked 2 jobs, and had little time for herself. For Maria, we emphasized stress management, 2 minutes of deep breathing 3 times a day, and journaling before bed. Alongside the ginger tea, these practices calmed her anxiety and reduced throat clearing. She told me, for the first time in years, I feel like I'm in control of my body instead of being dragged down by it. To the parents watching, do you feel stress directly in your body? Tight chest, mucus, fatigue? Type yes if stress shows up in your health. What these cases teach us, across ages and lifestyles, office worker, retiree, student, or parent, the pattern is the same. Poor diet, stress, or lifestyle weakens the spleen, producing phlegm. But by combining simple remedies like the ginger tea with nutrition, exercise, and emotional care, people regain clarity, energy, and confidence. These are not miracles. They are the results of consistent, practical actions anyone can take. And the most inspiring part, each of these individuals not only cleared their throat, but also improved their overall quality of life. In our final section, we'll tie everything together, summarizing the key lessons, offering encouragement, and giving you clear steps to start today. Because the real power lies not in knowing, but in doing. We've walked through a long journey together. From the simple but frustrating feeling of phlegm stuck in your throat, we uncovered a much deeper truth. Your body is not just randomly producing mucus. It is sending you a message about balance, about lifestyle, and about the health of your spleen. 1. Summarizing the key lessons. Let's pause and review the 7 key insights we've explored. 1. Phlegm is not just about the lungs. The lungs store phlegm, but the spleen produces it. 2. The root causes are clear. Poor diet, chronic worry, and a sedentary modern lifestyle weaken the spleen. 3. The body gives warning signs. Constant throat clearing, digestive, bloating, fatigue, brain fog, and even a swollen tongue are signals of spleen deficiency. 4. Simple remedies work. A daily tea made from ginger, tangerine, peel, coix seed, and licorice root helps strengthen digestion, clear dampness, and reduce phlegm. 5. Lifestyle matters. Warm, digestible foods, gentle exercise, good sleep, and emotional balance create the foundation for recovery. 6. Real people have seen results. From students to retirees, office workers to single parents, these methods bring real relief when applied consistently. 7. Consistency is the secret. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It is the result of steady, intentional daily choices. So when you feel that sticky phlegm, remember, it's not just a nuisance. It's a signal from your body asking you to take care of your foundation. 2. Shifting the mindset. Many of us in the US and Canada are used to quick fixes. A pill for a headache, a syrup for a cough, a coffee for fatigue. But what we've learned today is that true healing requires a shift in mindset. Instead of asking, how can I get rid of this symptom right now? We must ask, what is my body trying to tell me? And how can I support it at the root? That shift from symptom suppression to root restoration is where long-term health lives. 3. A challenge to the audience. Now let me ask you directly after hearing these lessons, what is one small change you're willing to try this week? Asterisk. Will you swap iced soda for warm water? Asterisk. Will you prepare ginger tea 3 times this week? Asterisk. Will you go for a 20-minute walk after dinner instead of sitting down right away? Comment your answer below. Type T if you'll start with the ginger tea type, walk if you'll begin with exercise, or type sleep if you'll commit to earlier rest. Sharing your choice makes it real and it inspires others to act as well. 4. The bigger vision. Remember, this journey is not only about clearing your throat, it's about building a stronger, clearer, more vibrant version of yourself. Imagine waking up without that sticky discomfort, breathing freely, thinking clearly, and having energy throughout the day. Imagine being able to sit through a meeting, a family dinner, or a quiet moment of prayer without constantly clearing your throat. That freedom is possible, and it starts with listening to your body's whispers before they become shouts. 5. Final encouragement. Healing is not about perfection. You don't need to change everything at once. Start small. Brew a cup of tea, take a short walk, go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Over time, these small steps compound into big transformation. As the old Chinese saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. For your health, that step might simply be putting down the iced drink and picking up a warm cup of ginger tea. 6. Call to action. If this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Click like to let me know it helped you. Share this video so others struggling with phlegm can finally find relief. And most importantly, follow me because this is just the beginning. Together we'll continue exploring practical ways to solve everyday health challenges and build not only stronger bodies, but also stronger minds and spirits. Closing words. So the next time you wake up with that familiar discomfort in your throat, don't feel annoyed, feel grateful. Your body is speaking to you, reminding you to care for your foundation. Answer that call with wisdom, with consistency, and with hope. Because when you care for your spleen, you're not just clearing your throat, you're strengthening your entire life.